it's me, I'm back. If you're just watching my YouTube videos, you might not know this, but one of the reasons I've been away is because I started a TikTok account and it's been doing pretty decently, so that's sort of been taking up my time at the moment. Like, I'm posting on there daily, multiple videos, and even though they're only a minute long each, they do take a lot of time. So that's sort of where I've been, and this video in particular is to celebrate 6,000 followers on TikTok. What? Okay. So what I'm going to be doing today is reacting to my top 10 most viewed TikTok videos. So what I do on TikTok mostly is Disney videos. I watch Disney movies and I review them. I have a Disney rating series where I give them all a rating and put them in a leaderboard. That's kind of the main thing I do, but I also do singing videos on there. And when I have time, which I'm hoping will be more at the moment, I will be back to posting covers on here, and I might do some Disney ones on here as a sort of crossover of my platforms. So the first one, so this is number 10, is part 50 of Rating Disney Movies. Most of these are going to be Rating Disney Movies. Emperor's New Groove. So this got 10,500 views. I can't remember what I said in this, so let's find out. I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order and I'm going to rate them for you, part 50. Little bit of behind the scenes. So I say this opening every single time. And when we get to some of my earlier videos, which we will do in a bit, I was a lot more like anxious about what I was saying and that people would see me. And you can hear that. Like, I'm still very much me, but I'm just a bit quieter. And at some point, I got way more confident in myself, and that sort of started to come across as a bit boisterous. Like, I was very energetic and all over the place. And I think this was sort of the point where I realized I needed to find an in-between between those two sort of states, because people at the beginning used to be like, wow, your voice is so soothing, I love listening to your voice, blah, blah, blah. And that disappeared because I got to a point where I was just screaming, basically. So I had to find like an in-between state where I could still like show my emotion, because that's sort of what I was lacking in the first few, was any sort of emotion. So now I show like that I'm passionate about things, but without being like, whoa. So I feel like this is around the time when I was like, let's rein it in a little bit. But anyway, I'll be using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting and voice acting, and songs. Today we have The Emperor's New Groove from 2000. It would be a crime to humanity to give characters anything less than a 10 out of 10. Every single one of them is iconic in their own unique way. How they managed to make Cusco likeable, even though he is actually kind of a vile person, is completely beyond me. And Patch's family, who basically do nothing in this movie, are also iconic. And Kronk is just a squeak, squeak and squeak, which is squirrel for cinnamon roll. Why are the characters so good in Emperor's New Groove? I really wish I could go into it more. Like, Cusco shouldn't be a good character because he is awful. He's so awful. But you love him? I can't explain it. Plot is also a 10 out of 10. I am smiling in this movie from the second it starts. I don't know how they came up with the story, and I'm honestly not sure I want to know. There are so many quotable bits, it possibly could be the funniest Disney movie of all time. It's so good! I feel like this is just going to be me saying it's so good. It makes me happy that I'm able to watch these review things again, like, months later and be like, no, I agree, I'm right. That is exactly what I'd say about it now. It's just such a good plot. It's so well done. And I don't really talk about visuals too much in these videos because I don't have enough time. I really wish I did. But the visuals in the movie it's so well done. It's so stylistic. I don't think it would be possible to have this impressive a voice cast and then not give it 10 out of 10 for voice acting. Now, this movie only has one song, which they use twice. It is a bop, but also not the most memorable. The instrumental music is what steals the show for me. 8 out of 10 for song. The instrumental music for Emperor's New Groove is so good, but the songs, like, I always have a thing, if you're gonna put songs into a movie, there should be a kind of a reason for the number of songs you have. There are some movies, I think Rescuers was one, where there were like a couple of songs, but it either needed no songs or more songs. Like, it just didn't work. I think this is one of those movies where it It needed something else in it, not just randomly Tom Jones singing at the start.
Emperor's New Groove scores 38 out of 40.
That's a solid 38 out of 40 for Emperor's New Groove. Happy with that. That is a phenomenal movie. It's so underrated. If you haven't watched Emperor's New Groove, you should watch that. What's next? Mulan. So what number? Part 42. Just Mulan. 11,000 views on this one. Nice going.
I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order and I'm going to rate them for you. Part 42. I'll be using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting or voice acting, and songs. Today we have Mulan from 1998. Move over, boys, it's time for one of the most empowering female characters of all time. Mulan is just so awesome, I can't put it into words, honestly. But I don't like the villain, he has no substance. 9.5 out of 10 for characters.
I will stand by that statement to my dying day. The villain in Mulan isn't a good villain. And I think it's such a shame for the movie. Well, it's hard because, like, if Mulan had, like, a big bad villain in it, would it fit the mood right? Possibly not. But there was just... I'd have almost rather had, like, a sort of faceless villain. Like, the villain is just their enemy. It's not, like, this one dude, you know? I think I might have preferred that. I don't think you could have had, like, a big character like Ursula or something, but he wasn't right. He just sort of was there. And that's not it for me. But Mulan is obviously incredible and the characters are wonderful. Besides the villain, who really let it down for me.
Hold up, because this plot is epic. She risks her life on multiple levels to save her father, has to disguise herself as a man because of raging sexism, makes a man angry because he feels things and doesn't understand why, and in the end becomes an amazing war hero. But the moral is that she was incredible from the start and she just needed to make people see that. Plot is a 10 out of 10.
Right. Soon I'm going to get onto a video that contained a little bit of Mulan too, and I'll rant about this a little bit more, but Mulan is just such a better movie. For everything that I listed off there. It's so, like, nuanced in what it says. Oh, it's such a good movie. The plot is so good. It's so action-packed, but it means so much.
Okay, Eddie Murphy kills this role, we all know it. And I really like most of the voices. But once you find out this is Donny Osmond, it really kills the vibe. 9 out of 10 for voice acting.
This was another thing that I said that people didn't agree with me on this one. I don't want to, like, go off on a thing about Donny Osmond because I really don't actually hold that much against Donny Osmond, and I love I'll Make a Man Out of You because of course I do, but it's just not it for me. Apparently as well, I don't know whether this is true, I think somebody just said it in the comments on the video saying that the voice actor, like the speaking voice actor for Li Shang, could actually sing, which is just so... Let him sing then. Why do we have to put... Because when you think about it, the thing that Disney makes a lot of profit from as well is, like, songs. Songs are a big part of Disney, and therefore the person who's tied to Li Shang is Donny Osmond, who's a white guy. But Eddie Murphy can kill, like, any role.
Reflection is a musical masterpiece, I will hear nothing else. I didn't know the credits song also slapped, and the key change in I'll Make a Man Out of You gets me every time. Songs is a 10 out of 10.
The key change in I'll Make a Man Out of You is phenomenal. Time is racing toward us. Oh, it's so good. It gives me chills every time. Reflection is never a song that I'd pick out as, like, one of my favourite Disney songs, but when I watched it in the movie, it was emotional. It was a lot.
Mulan scores 38.5 out of 40.
38.5 out of 40. Very, very strong. Apparently, half a point better than Emperor's New Groove there. I think people weren't happy with that score. I think people were like, no, it should be perfect. Number 8. As you might be able to tell, it is a different day. I posted a video after filming all my stuff and it overtook, so it's now in my top 10. Part 78 of the Disney Review series, WALL-E, which has reached 11,000 views.
I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order and I'm going to rate them for you, part 78. I'll be using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting, voice acting and songs. Today we have WALL-E from 2008. Pixar knew what they were doing with this movie. Their strength has always been in characters. So they created a movie with 2 of the most compelling animated characters of all time, and they don't even speak that much.
I was watching it, I was just completely in awe. For most of the start of the movie, there aren't any words, and I think the first words you get, like, there's a bit of narration, but just to give you context of what's happened on Earth. But WALL-E obviously doesn't say anything, and then even when Eve shows up, they kind of share some dialogue, but it's not proper dialogue. And yet, within that first, 15 minutes of the movie, you absolutely fall in love with them as characters, and that's such an incredible thing to achieve.
Their little faces, I could literally look at them and burst into tears. 10 out of 10 for characters.
They're so cute. They're so cute. But that's not even just it. It's not just the fact that they're cute that makes them compelling. You care about them. The fact that this little robot has been on that Earth for however many years, a long time, by himself, and he's found all these things and he's collected them, and all he wants is to recreate that scene from Hello Dolly, I think it was. Come on. Breaking my heart.
Everyone talks about the opening of Up, but the first 15 minutes of WALL-E is just perfection to me. This movie's adorable, but it also warns us about where we're going in life. Learn the lessons Pixar is teaching you, kids. 10 out of 10 for plot. The sound designer for this movie is the voice of a lot of these robots. It's genius! And even though the voices are incredible, they still treasure silence. 10 out of 10 for voice acting.
So, I'm a little bit of a sound nerd. I love sound design. I studied it a bit at uni. There's a video on YouTube of the sound designer talking about the sound in this movie, and honestly, it started and I got so excited about the video I started crying. He's so incredible. Ben Burt, the things he did for the sound of this movie are just out of this world, and if you're at all interested in it, find that YouTube video, because it just blows my mind how people just can think of these things. The amount of time put into every single movement that WALL-E makes. Things like that just make a movie, and the sound for this movie, next time you watch WALL-E, just listen to the sound. It's so incredible.
Are you kidding me with this music? God, it's so beautiful. I mean, what else am I supposed to say about it? From the first time it's introduced to the callback, oh, I'm just crying. Thank you. 10 out of 10 for songs.
The moment, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Can you tell how much I enjoyed this movie? Eve comes to Earth and WALL-E sees her, and the whole music changes and it goes into that theme, the main theme of WALL-E, and then they do the dance in space and it comes back. There are plenty of other moments that it comes back, but that's the major, it's back and they're dancing to it and they float through space and it happens, and it's so emotional. Every time that music happens, it's truly emotional. Thomas Newman, incredible job on the score for this movie.
WALL-E scores a well-deserved 40 out of 40.
And that is what a perfect movie looks like. People being like, Mary Poppins is a perfect movie. No, absolutely not. WALL-E is a perfect movie. And obviously I say that with a little bit of hesitation, because no movie is perfect like that. It's art. Art can't be perfect. But it can get pretty close, and WALL-E got pretty close for me. 12.2. Oh, we're joint here. So just to break this up, surprisingly, my next one, so I think this is 7th now, is the first video I ever posted that got any sort of amount of views. So I posted 3 videos in one day. 2 at once, which were roles I auditioned for, and I did musical theatre and panto in 2 different videos. And I was sat around and I was like, oh, they got 1,000 views. That's wild. And I didn't know what to do about it, because I was like, this is crazy. And I'd already decided I want to make a Snow White video, and it blew up. My equivalent of blowing up. I had 50 followers. That sounds like a lot. I didn't have 50 followers. I don't know how many I had. And then I very quickly had 1,000 followers. It's been a journey. So this was the first video that did well. 12.2 thousand views now. That's been a slow journey up there, but it's got there. So this is roles I auditioned for versus roles I got in musical theatre. And I think it was entitled Part 1, What Even is a Naughty Nun, though, which was a role that I played in Sound of Music. I was a naughty nun. I was Naughty Nun 3, actually.
Musical roles I auditioned for versus what I got cast.
Right, already? Can you hear the difference in my voice between that and, like, Emperor's New Groove?
Musical roles I auditioned for versus what I got cast.
Musical roles I auditioned for versus what I got cast.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
I've got a full cover of that song now. Well, a minute long cover on my account now because I got typecast for that. But the somewhere over, which I can't actually do as well as I did there. That was actually really good.
We wish to welcome you to Munchkinland.
That was so high. That was so high. Go off soprano. Yeah. My best friend at the time got the role of Dorothy. I was so excited for her. When it was announced, I literally like pummeled her to the floor in a hug. I was like, oh my God. And then I didn't get a role. Somebody wasn't turning up to rehearsals. So I've done this quite a few times in my life where people just haven't turned up for things. So I've gone, I'll do it. So I was part of the Lullaby League, which is why I sung the and I remember there were like 3 of us and he was like, you can put it down if you want because that's very high. And I was like, no. I'm very much a soprano and I will forever stay a soprano. I was quite young at the time as well, to be fair. I was probably about 12 or 13.
You are 17, going on 18. I'll depend on you. Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria?
So that was the Naughty Nun 3. I remember auditioning for this show. I was really upset that I didn't get anything. So what happened was we had a drama teacher who was very set on making sure like everybody got a chance, except he never ever gave me a chance, but until I literally asked for one. I literally went to him and I was like, I'm planning on going to university to study drama, and yet I can't get a main role in anything. Is there something you need to tell me about my acting ability? And he's like, no. And then I started getting cast after that point. So there you go. If you don't get cast in things, confront people because it's the only way forward. I'm just a very quiet person, so things like that I would just never speak up about, and it got to a point where I was like, I have to speak up about it. This wasn't the show though. So for this show, Sound of Music, they have 7 children, right? I believe that's right, 7 children. To make sure that we could cast more people, the director, our drama teacher, made it 14 children. So he doubled up the roles of the children. So there were 14 of them on stage. And I didn't get cast as any of them. It was not a good day for me. I got cast as Naughty Nun 3. He wrote in a little bit of a scene for us. I don't think I had any solo singing or anything like that, but we had a little scene and it was awful. I remember I had a bit that was like, look, a star has come out. It is a sign. It was something like that. It was not the highlight of my career, and I did not enjoy that show. Sorry, my zoom probably just changed a little bit because my camera ran out of memory space, but we're back.
I would give you everything for just that smile you bring, for just that song to sing. What will the neighbours think? They'll think that's what they'll think, but I will, 'cause I know they think I don't. Check part 2 for slightly more success.
Right, so Our House was the most recent show I've done, and it was probably the best show I've ever been in. It was so good. I loved it. I was in the ensemble, so I sang a bit in the song that I did a little snippet of, the "What will the neighbours think?" that. I did part of that. I did some other stuff. It was just so much fun. I hadn't done musicals in a very long time up until that point, and it was really nice to be able to do a musical again. I was pretty chuffed about that one. And then it was me at the end saying, watch part 2 for slightly more success. So the part 2, which isn't in here because it wasn't in my top 10, was my panto version. So I did a lot of pantos with my pantomime society at university, and I was a lot more successful there. I got quite a few main parts there. I've done some really, really fun shows with them. Next one. So this makes me so happy that this video did well. So this is a duet that I did of When Will My Life Begin. So still 12.2 thousand. It makes me really happy because it's not... Normally, the videos that do the best for me are my Disney reviews, which I love. But sometimes I do appreciate it when like my other videos do well. And this was one of them. Somebody suggested to me, they were like, can you do a duet of When Will My Life Begin? I was like, that is the best idea I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Like, there are two people that are trapped in the tower and they can do some harmonies and they're like switching between lines. It'll be great. So I put in quite a bit of effort into it. And so I'm really happy it did well. Okay. Oh, I counted how many duets it had, but I can't remember. Okay, hear me out. What if Rapunzel had a sibling that was trapped in the tower with her? That's right, it's duet time. My favourite thing about watching people's duets is watching them having to like either just sit through that bit at the start or they try and interact with it. I find it really funny to like see which one people are going to do, whether they're just going to sit there like, or whether they're going to be like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm sorry that bit's so awkward, but I felt like I needed to add that so to like create some sort of interest in what I was doing, which I think was right. Start on the chores and sweep till the floors are clean. Polish and wax your laundry and mop and shine up. Sweep again, and by then it's like 7:15. I'll read a book, or maybe 2 or 3. I'll add a few new paintings to my gallery. I'll play guitar and knit and cook, and basically just wonder when will my life begin. I loved watching people's duets to it. It just made me really happy. So this is my next one. And this was a controversial video, which it shouldn't be because it was just a Disney rating video. We're on part 14 of my Disney rating series. So the fact that I was like 2 weeks into the series and then this was controversial was a little bit like... So this had 18.3 thousand views. This was Mary Poppins. I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order and I'm going to rate them for you, part 14. I'm so chill, and I thought when I recorded that I was a bit extra. I thought I was like, oh, that was a bit hard, me being like, part 14.
I'll be using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting or voice acting, and songs.
My little points are so slow. There's a reason I sped them up though, because stickers on TikTok have to last, proper behind the scenes here, have to last at least 1 second. I have to make sure I'm pointing at songs for at least a whole second, which doesn't feel like a lot of time until you're doing something like this. That's why I sped that up, but it's just funny watching it that slow.
Today we have our first live action movie, Mary Poppins from 1964. Characters I gave 7 out of 10. I only have one problem here, which is the random captain guy who pops up every now and again to irritate me with his irrelevance.
People rushed to his defense. What? Why? And then I'd ask people would be like, no, the captain guy, I love him. And I respond to people like, I'd love to know why. Like, genuinely, why do you like him? Because for me, I don't understand why he's there, who he is, what he is. He's just sort of there causing noise. What? And people were like, he's just great. And I'm like, that's not a reason. It's not a reason. I don't get him. I really don't. And I still don't understand.
Plot gets a 6 out of 10. Why is it so long? It's not The Hobbit. For some reason, Dick Van Dyke finds it reasonable to dance with chimney sweeps for 8.5 minutes and penguins for another 2.5 minutes. And this man sings about the bank for almost 8 minutes of screen time.
Right, before we get to the bank bit, let's talk about this. So, people rightfully said in the comments, they were like, well, it is a musical, which is fair. That does make more sense why it was longer, because it's like a proper musical. Other Disney movies are they are musical, like they use songs to forward plot, like they are musicals, but they're a reasonable length. This movie is still aimed at kids. It was so long. It was like 2.5 hours. I couldn't sit through it. So I timed specifically how long some of these scenes were. Like when the chimney sweep dance started, I was like, yes, the chimney sweep dance. And then like halfway through, I was like, wow, it's still going. It's a long movie and it didn't need to be that long. And I stand by that. And then this was one of my favourite things to edit.
A British bank in the bank, no bank account. Yeah, bank.
So funny. They sung about the bank so much in that movie.
Acting gets an 8.5 out of 10 because Julie Andrews is an angel. Special shout out to this flying nanny that deserves an Oscar.
The flying nanny. What was she doing? Why did they include that clip? That was awful.
Songs gets an 8 out of 10 because besides the boring banking songs, they're all absolute bangers.
Yeah, I mean, that's correct.
Mary Poppins scores 29.5 out of 40.
So, when I post that video with 14 videos in by that point, that was my highest rated movie. 29.5 out of 40. People were furious. They were like, how dare you not give it 40 out of 40? And I was like, people, what? Really? That's all I've really got to say, because I stand by everything I said, and I still don't understand people's like rush to defend it. Like, I think that's an example of a movie where like you can have loved a movie as a child and still enjoy it now without thinking it's the best thing that's ever happened on this earth. You know, I like Mary Poppins. I had a good time watching it, but there were just so many things in it that I was like, Jesus. So next up, we have a bit of a weird one. I know I said earlier that it made me happy when like some of my videos that weren't Disney reviews got good views on them. This wasn't one of those videos. So I duetted a guy who did a video, basically it was like 5 characters from Toy Story that he wants to punt across the room. And it just worked really well. It came up on my FYP. I watched it and I was like, this is perfect, because I'd just done a review of Toy Story 2 where I'd said Wheezy, for some reason I couldn't explain, but I loved Wheezy. Wheezy was my favourite character from Toy Story 2. And then this video popped up and I was like, this is perfect timing. So I duetted it, and I don't really add anything to the original video. I was just posting it for fun, and then it got 19.2 thousand views. And the reason it's annoying to me is because like, it's great that people saw it and people enjoyed it, but also I put hours of work into my other videos, and then this took me 2 seconds and got almost 20,000 views. That's sort of what is annoying about it. But you know what? It got views, so maybe I shouldn't complain.
Here are 5 characters from Toy Story that I want to punch across the room! First, we've got the big baby from Toy Story 3. What an abomination! I would punt the big baby into a 50-yard field goal. Next up is one of these aliens. Not this one, but this one. I want to kick all 3 of his stupid eyes. Next up is Forky. That's not a toy. My boy Slinky Dog, that's a toy. My boy Ham, that's a toy. But Forky! I want to kick him so hard. I want to punch him into the trash where he belongs. Or the compost for my environmental friends. Number 2, Spanish Buzz. What a simp! Simps get punted. Quiero patearte, you simp. And number 1, Wheezy! Here's a point of view for you. Point of view, you Wheezy!
I love that video of his. That was So funny. I follow him. All of his videos are funny, right? For one thing, Ham is not a toy. I would like to say that. But I do agree about Forky. Ham just wasn't a great example because he's a piggy bank, not a toy. Wheezy, furious. Now, as you can see, my duet, literally, I'm not adding anything. I'm laughing, and then he says Wheezy, and I'm like, So, you know, I'm basically just stealing views from him at that point, but whatever. That's in my top 10, apparently. Right, what's next? Part 26 of the Disney review series, The Little Mermaid. This got 20.8 thousand views, so pretty solid up in there. 7,000 likes, pretty good going. I haven't watched this one in ages. Let's have a listen.
I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order and I'm going to rate them for you. Part 26.
See, this was when I was starting to get a little bit more, like, aggressive with my intros.
I'll be using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting or voice acting, and songs.
Still not sped up the pointing, though.
Today we have The Little Mermaid from 1989. Characters, well, they just have to get a 10 out of 10, don't they? I'm not going to list off all the iconic characters, but Ursula is a queen. And hey, a prince with a personality. He even saves his dog early on, so we know we can root for him.
Yeah. What she said. It's so nice to have a princess movie where, like, the prince actually does something. You know? The characters are so good in Little Mermaid.
The plot scores 8 out of 10. I love it, but here are my issues. This 16-year-old child...
I'm 16 years old. I'm not a child.
Yes, you are. Sets eyes on this boy for literally 2 seconds.
You don't even know him.
Neither do you! Now she's in love and gonna sign away her life, it's problematic.
That is 100% accurate. I remember, because I started the movie and I was like, this could be a perfect movie here. Like, I love The Little Mermaid. This is a solid movie. And then I found myself at certain points, like, shouting at the TV. I was like, what are you doing? You don't know who he is. It's bad from that perspective.
Voice acting is a 9.5 out of 10. Jodie Benson is Ariel, and you can't change my mind on that. This cast is pretty iconic overall, to be honest.
I have never cried at The Little Mermaid, because why would I? But this time round, when I was watching and I got to the Part of Your World reprise, I did actually tear up a little bit. Jodie Benson, phenomenal. Sounds so good. Part of Your World reprise was so emotional for me, and I can't explain
Songs
it.
are a certified 10 out of 10. Name me a bad song you can't. Daughters of Triton, I hear you say. You are wrong. It serves a purpose and it's like 2 seconds long. Stop it.
This is me being like, I can hear the comments now and I'm going to put a stop to them. Just me being like, there's not a bad song. I was expecting comments to just be like, Daughters of Triton isn't a great song. No. How dare you? It barely counts as a song, and Fathoms Below is still a little bit of a bop. So, you know, I stand by
The
that.
Little Mermaid scores 37.5 out of 40.
That was a great score for then. Right, I think it is time for the big boy. Up until, I think, about 3 or 4 days ago, it was my most viewed video. It was when I posted it, and it remained it up until this week, which is the thing that started it all. Rating Disney Movies Part 1, Snow White. 33.9 thousand views, almost 34,000, so close. If this video hadn't done well, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, so here you go. I'm watching all the Disney movies in chronological order, and I'm going to rate them for you. Oh, my little heart! I didn't know what I was doing, so people now quote this catchphrase at me. Like, if I'm doing a live stream, they'll just put it in the comments, or they'll leave comments being like, am I the only one who says it along with her, whatever, because I put it at the start of all of them. It was just random. I was just like, I need to start this video. I'm watching every Disney movie in chronological order, and I'm going to rate them for you. I don't know why I zoomed in as well. Did I zoom in?
I'm watching all the Disney movies in chronological order, and I'm going to rate them for you.
That's my little heart. And people were like, why are you holding the mic if it's not plugged in? It was plugged in, right? So that microphone is from my overhead, like, headphones, like, full-on proper headphones. And I can plug them in to my phone, unplug them from the headphones, because otherwise I've got these hefty headphones, and it still works as a mic. People thought they were, like, calling me out for, like, pretending to use the mic. Why would I do that? And it just sounded better than on my phone, so I did that, but I use different headphones for that now, so it sounds slightly better.
I'm going to use 4 categories: characters, plot, acting or voice acting, and songs.
My voice using 4 categories: characters, plot, acting. Now I speak as if I've got to be somewhere in about like 5 minutes, which is normally the case, to be fair. But I always have so much to say. I really struggled to get it into 60 seconds. The fact that I got through anything in this video and I'm speaking at that speed, Jesus Christ. Also, people ask, like, why do you rate it out of 40? Like, where did the categories come from? I remember, so basically, I put on Snow White in front of my mum. I was, like, in the sitting room with my mum. She was doing a jigsaw. I put on Snow White and I was like, Mum, I have decided I am watching every Disney movie in chronological order. I'm going to go through them. And she was like, sign me up. Cut to the evening, we sat having dinner, and I was like, what would you rate Snow White? And then we were like, let's be methodical about this. And we decided we were going to rate them as we watched them, and came up with 4 categories that we thought would universally cover a lot of Disney movies. Characters, plot, acting, songs, which I still stand by. I think those are good categories. We discussed some other ones, but it just didn't feel like they worked by themselves as categories, so we stuck with these. So that's why there are 4 categories, and then it just makes sense to rate each of them out of 10, and then you get it out of 40. So that's how that happened. There you go.
We're starting with Snow White from 1937, which was obviously very groundbreaking at the time, but that is not one of my categories, so I will not take that into consideration.
There's part of me that kind of likes how I speak here. I might kind of introduce that sort of tone back into it, that sort of like matter of fact, like, today we have Snow White from 1937, and even though it's very groundbreaking at the time, like that sort of thing, I kind of want to go back to that a little bit.
Characters is a solid 1 out of 10.
The way she falls through that whole, as soon as I say 1 out of 10, that was completely unplanned. I didn't plan for that to happen. I didn't know what I was doing when I was making this video, so it definitely wasn't planned.
Snow White is whiny and I don't root for her. Sneezy needs to get a tissue.
That I came up with that line and I was like, boom, genius, done, absolutely 100%, here we go.
And the prince is just kind of bland and a bit of a waste of space, if I'm honest. Look at that face.
Why do I sound like it's midnight and I'm gonna get caught sneaking around the house?
Plot is an average 4 out of 10. It's your standard Disney movie. It's got some excitement, but it's not really that compelling overall. Voice acting I gave a very generous 3 out of 10 to, mainly because the rest of the cast is fine, except for Snow White, who is so annoying. Even the birds fly away from her singing.
I've always hated Snow White's voice. That's been a common theme throughout my life. I don't like this movie.
And we're back to a 1 out of 10 for songs. Dwarves were having a great time. Snow White comes in, starts singing again, ruining every song.
I think I would give songs more now, but then I haven't watched Snow White since I posted this, so maybe... But the little thing where they dance was kind of fun, was it though? But then she did join in and it was annoying. You know what, maybe it was a 1 out of 10.
Overall verdict is a 9 out of 40 for Snow White.
And the text broke on me as well, so it's like off somewhere. You know what, it was a good video, what can I say? So then, cut to my most viewed video. Woo! It currently has, I think, 98,000 views. It has over 30,000 likes. What do I do with that? 4 days ago it got to that. That's how long it's taken to get to that many views. I mean, what if it gets to 100,000 views? That means there are 100,000 people out there, strangers, who have seen my face and heard me talk about Disney movies. I literally can't get over it. So the video is still part of the Disney reviewing series, but when it comes to straight to DVD releases, I don't generally review them just because they don't really, it just doesn't make sense. They don't feel like proper movies most of the time. So I just sort of bung them together into one video. So I'm kind of glad this did well because it did require me to watch 3 Disney movies in a day. It was a lot. I haven't watched it since I posted it. This was also the first video that I put closed captions on, which was just something I decided to do because I'd seen a lot more creators do it on TikTok, and I thought that is such a good idea just for accessibility. Like, right, let's watch it.
I've watched some more Disney straight-to-DVD releases so that you don't have to. Let's start with Mulan 2 from 2005. So it's been a month since the end of the first movie, and these two are engaged. And in that time, they have both turned into bumbling idiots who can't communicate with another human being.
You know I know you better than that, Mulan.
It's been a month, dude. No, you don't.
I mean, what's great about this is that it's in direct comparison to the first video I ever made. And there's just such a difference. There's such a difference. I actually know what I'm doing at this point, and you can tell.
And I did not need the Mushu villain arc in my life.
So, Mulan 2 was it was fine when you compare it to other Disney sequels. But I just looked at my Mulan review. It's not it. Mulan 2 sort of ruins everything that Mulan built up for me. Mulan didn't need a love plot. It didn't. It was kind of there, but it wasn't that important. You know, it was an aspect of her life, but nobody cared. So why did we have to watch a full-length movie of just that? They're like those two bickering. I just didn't need it. And I'm so sick of giggly girls as a trope. Like, just girls giggling at each other. Girls don't do that. Girls do not do that. And that was so much of the movie as well. There are bits of it that I really like. I do like the three relationships with the princesses. I hated Mushu just being evil. It's not a good movie, and people were very quick to defend it. But if it had been like for Cinderella, that might have been different, because Cinderella is about love and relationships and more feminine things, but that's not the importance of Mulan, and it got to me a bit. Anyway, Tarzan 2.
Let's move on to Tarzan 2, also from 2005. Even Disney wanted to pretend that Tarzan and Jane didn't exist as a movie by calling this Tarzan 2. Oh god.
So I did another one of these about like straight to DVD releases, and I didn't watch Tarzan and Jane. I started it and I looked at it and I was like, absolutely not. I watched about 5 minutes of it and I was like, this is not going to be a thing that I watch. And I said that in my video. I was like, I put it on, turned it off. Tarzan, I gave 40 out of 40. Tarzan and Jane, I couldn't sit through. So this was just me being like, look, at least it's better than that.
Look, this movie is so much better. It's not great, but at least it's better. All I ask is that Phil Collins is protected.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was fine as a movie. People wanted to defend Tarzan 2 as well. I think it was just a bit weird in places, like, was it the zoo gore or something like that? I didn't really get it, but, you know, as a kid's movie, it was fine. It's just not it for me.
Finally, we have Bambi 2, a movie that needed to be made 64 years after the original, apparently. Disney really sat down and went, you know that period of time that we skipped from the first movie because it was going to be boring? Let's make a movie only about that. And let's start it with the same scene that traumatized children 64 years ago. It'll be fine, then we'll go into a beautiful song about life and the children will just forget.
I wasn't ever the biggest fan of the original Bambi. Like, well, it was fine as a movie, but it was just a bit like, oh, let's watch this deer hop about the forest. Oh, his mum's dead. Okay, now he's hopping about the forest some more. Oh, but now he's older. And Bambi 2 kind of felt like the same, like, oh, look, they're back to hopping about the forest. But I did find it weird. Like, I started it and immediately it was like, Mother! Your mother can't be with you anymore, Bambi. I was like, oh my god, we're back here, Jesus. Once again, people wanted to defend Bambi too, and I get it. Like, I was being harsh to these movies in this video because I just had to sort of quickly list off funny things that I thought about them, because when you talk about 3 movies in a 60-second video, it's quite difficult. So people were like, no, this is a great movie, and I was like, no, it was alright. Like, you know, I've got to exaggerate a little bit for content. Anyway, that's my top 10. Once again, thank you for 6,000 followers and for all the support on that most recent video, on all of the videos I've mentioned here actually. Once again, thank you. Please check out some of my other videos on here, which is just singing and stuff, and let me know if you want to see other specific content from me. And please go check out my TikTok account, which is where I post most of my content, but I will be back on here, I promise.